Well, it's week 4 of the LCS, day 2 here with coverage brought to you by Alienware. I am joined right now by Insanity from TSM. I thought for a second I was blacklisted by TSM because I requested Hanser last week and I got declined. And so you were my new test, and then I got approved, so not blacklisted by TSM. Because I knew that you would accept it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't mind doing interviews. Just usually, if the game is or the week is pretty bad, then obviously I don't think people are going to want to do interviews.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we're 2-0 now this week, so I think the spirits are pretty high.
Yeah. We are watching Evil Geniuses vs. 100 Thieves in the lounge right now, the TGI lounge. How do you think this game is going to go? Who do you think is going to win?
100.
Why?
Just feeling.
Yeah.
My mind's telling me that 100 is going to win.
Because they just won that team fight? Or, I mean, AG's still up the gold advantage, right?
Yeah, gold doesn't mean much. It's 50 gold.
Oh, okay. Well, now it's 211.
Yeah, it's just fake gold.
Is that a thing in League of Legends? I was not aware of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, I'm pretty sure the gold's bugged. If there's a gold lead, it's just fake.
Okay, gotcha.
Solo killed Quid as Ivern.
Yes.
That was beautiful.
Changing your mind?
Nope. Okay. Just hope Quid doesn't die 10 more times.
All right. Well, that's the power spike. All right, so what has it been like for you playing for TSM? What was the timeline here? Because everybody was like, who's their mid laner? Is it Phoenix? What's going on? Suddenly you show up on the global data contract database. So what was the timeline?
I was still signed to Dig Academy at the time, but not like when I signed with them, but basically all the Academy stuff went down, and then I decided I got to do something, and then they approached me, and I signed with them as a sub initially, and I believe they did have Phoenix at the time, but he was initially signed for their Academy roster, if I remember correctly. So they were just using him for that. Gotcha. Because he was easy access, right? And then when they approached me, I was like, okay, this is a shot for me to play in LCS and show my worth. So I just took it, and I think Ruby was having visa issues for 2 weeks going into the start of the season. So I got pretty much 3 or 4 weeks of practice with the team, and I don't know, just been riding it since. It felt good.
So you went from a situation where you're like, I might be out of a job because there's no academy role for you, to, wow, now I'm in the LCS.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a crazy timeline to think about because I was really, really stressed going into this. I probably didn't sleep more than 4 to 6 hours every night for almost a month, or almost not a month. It was 2-3 weeks, but I don't know. The whole time period was just stressful for me, but I'm glad it's working out.
Were you considering retirement?
No. I was considering role swap. Role swap, just play an academy, another split. So for I don't know, some org, whatever would take me, and probably with a good team that I think was good, or with players that I deem good. And if that didn't work, I was going to do streaming or something. But obviously there are options for me, and I was just trying to figure out what I actually wanted to do. But I'm just glad this opportunity came around.
So when you were playing for TSM for those first couple of weeks, were you thinking to yourself okay, I'm back in the LCS, this is my moment to change perceptions of folks? Because I think a lot of people from your previous LCS run, they didn't have this idea that you were this great mid laner. So I don't know if you were oh, maybe I can even lock in the spot on TSM if I play well enough. Where were you at kind of those first couple of weeks?
The first few weeks, so since I went from LCS to amateur, back to academy for full year and then a split, I played against what I would say is pretty bad players or bad competition. So I developed a lot of bad habits. So going into the first few weeks of scrims, I realized how far behind I was. And I wasn't thinking, oh, this spot is guaranteed mine. I was like, wow, if I want this spot, I have to stop griefing. So it was kind of figuring out, going through the growing pains, but I think I've done pretty well for myself. And I think from my last time in LCS, a lot of people remember my sort of int moments. So for example, I played Set and Renekton a decent amount and kind of griefed the game. But they don't remember my good moments. And I think I had a pretty decent amount of good moments, especially in summer 2021. And, I'm trying to show that now and be more consistent.
Do you not think, are you, because I think the perception is you're playing way better. In fact, I just interviewed Fudge, we were talking about you, and he said that he thought you were playing way better than before. Do you think that is because of the fact that people only remember the, grief moments, or do you think you are playing way better than before? Where do you think this perception is coming about?
I think people, like I said before, I think people just remember when I was griefing. And I wasn't So I wasn't as confident going on to like stage games back then. I had a lot of like thoughts of playing, or while I was playing, like, oh, I don't want to int here because it'll make me look bad. But now I'm more like, okay, if I grief, it is what it is. I don't care. It's not like I don't care as in I want to lose the game. It's more like I griefed. It happens. Let's move on, you know? Like, I'm just trying to play without regrets and, you know, play the game and play to my, to get to my peak where I think I deem myself as a player. And even though I'm playing well, I don't think this is my full potential.
Do you think, because I was having this conversation with Fudge, but it's interesting to have it with somebody else kind of from the other side of it. Do you think that North American talent is undervalued? Because I look right now and I think there's a pretty big discussion around several North American talents that seemingly are performing above people's expectations for them, yourself included. Armeo, I think, another example. We were talking about Revenge. There's a couple more, but at the same time, we have seen some import players, not all of them obviously, but some who people did have high expectations for, flopping. I don't want you to talk about your teammate, right? But like, even in this situation, you have retained the spot over an import player. So I guess, you know, what do you think of the perception around North American talent, especially as it relates to you?
I'm sort of in the middle in a sense of like, I think there is North American talent, and I do think there is not a lot of it in that way. So like, it exists, it's just not in a large quantity, right? And I just don't think a lot of the teams, or like, I guess whoever's building rosters in NA, whatever team it may be, whatever org, not to individualize one, I don't think people know how to build a roster well. Or like, let's say they want to get an NA player. They don't know how to build around the NA player, or like throw him into a team that'll actually help him succeed or foster growth in a sense, right? Yeah. And I think that's kind of the struggle. So I feel like teams just kind of default to players who are imports and have already proven themselves as, you know, pretty decent. But I do think there is a decent amount of players in NA that can be in the LCS and perform well if they have the right pieces around them.
That they're not available right now.
And they're not available right now?
Or I'm saying they're not in the LCS right now.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Could you give me any names of players that you think are like LCS worthy or could show up in the same way you, Armeo, et cetera, have shown up to the split?
One person does come to mind. I think it's APA. I think he has a really like creative style when it comes to playing the game.
Well, we're going to see him play today.
Of course, and I'm pretty excited to see him because I always thought he was pretty good. And I do like he tends to pick more like unpopular picks, and he knows their limits and he knows the strength of the champion and he plays them well. And I'm excited to see those. Okay,
I asked you for a player who's not in the LCS. You gave me a player who's now in the LCS as of today.
I completely forgot that he was playing today. My bad. But
because you said you think there are players.
Yeah, a lot of the ones that come to mind kind of like retired. For example, Copy. I think he could have been decent. I think Onda is another one that comes to mind. I think Viper played in the LCS, but I thought he was really good too. That's also another problem, I think. A lot of the players that I thought were LCS level, they had a chance, or some of them had a chance, and it kind of played on a bad team or something, and they look bad, and then people just deem them as bad instantly. They don't give them like time to judge the player further. And a lot of those players that were good kind of retired or went on with life, right? And I think those players are still better than a lot of the players that are coming up today. And it's going to take those players a while to get back or get to their level, in my opinion. But, you know, it's going to take some time.
All right, that makes sense. Is there, well, I guess I would ask, what are you thinking about in terms of the future? Because you find yourself on a team that has said that they don't plan to be in the LCS in the future. You also find yourself in a role where I don't think you probably expect to be playing at this point in time, not just because you were not initially on an LCS roster, but you were coming in as like a sub essentially. So, you know, what are your, I guess, hopes or plans for the future? I mean, goals even, because you know, you're kind of in a weird situation compared to a lot of other players who are like, okay, I'm on a multi-year contract and this team's going to be around, etc.
I like to live day by day, so I generally don't think too deep into the future, if at all. Obviously, I do have goals. I think a couple of them. One is like trying to win the LCS, get pretty far into playoffs, make worlds, stuff like this. But overall, I just want to make sure this split ends really well, or like goes well at the very least. And as far as next year for me, or like whatever happens to me, I don't know. I just want to prove that I deserve a spot in the LCS.
So now, at the end of this interview, 100 Thieves is up a dragon, but there's a 6.7k gold lead for EG, whereas before it was like 200 gold lead. So do you still feel like 100 Thieves is going to win this?
Unfortunately not. But I'll admit I was wrong. I think they'll lose.
Okay. Well, we'll see how things go. There's a team fight breaking out right now. Is this going to change your opinion? Oh, it looks like EG is it's killing everybody.
Change my opinion and say that EG is going to win, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, anything you want to shout to anybody?
To the fans, I guess. Thank you guys for supporting us and continue supporting us. It helps a lot. Yeah, I mean, that's it. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for the interview. Really appreciate it. Glad to hear that I am not blacklisted. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things LCS right here on my YouTube channel. Hey everyone, hopefully you've been enjoying our coverage of the LCS season here from the LCS studios. I guess it's called the Riot Games Studios now. Either way, we've been having a great time providing you high quality interviews. Hopefully you've been enjoying them. And I wanted to show you, speaking of high quality, an amazing piece of hardware. This is the M18 notebook that Alienware has hooked us up with. It's been great. We've been providing you coverage straight from this notebook. Now this Alienware M18 features a NVIDIA GeForce RTX 40 series GPU. This is Alienware's most powerful laptop, and having this in our arsenal allows us to get content to my channels quickly. So again, thank you so much to Alienware for sponsoring our coverage and for powering our summer split.